Now let's take a look at methods for subsetting data frames. A data frame is a special type of list, so the methods we learn for subsetting and extracting with a list work with a data frame. Additionally, because a data frame is rectangular like a matrix, some of the matrix subset methods work as well. Let's take a look at a few of these. Here I want just the third column. Let me put my data back up there so we can see this. The third column is the score, and that's what we got, just the score. The extraction will also work. There's the third column. And we could also use the extraction operator, the $sign. Here's a way to get two rows. I want rows 2 and 3. Here I want all rows except the second one. Now I'm going to use a matrix-like subset function to get the third and fourth rows and the second, third, and fourth columns. You can also subset with the subset function and a logical Boolean operator. Here I want to subset, taking out everywhere where gender is equal to female. Data frames can be subset with indices, just like matrices and lists. You can use the single square brackets to view, the double square brackets to extract, and the $sign to extract. We can subset multiple elements by leaving the row or column index empty. We can subset multiple elements through sequencing with the sequence operator or the concatenate function. And we can subset with the subset function and a logical expression. We use data frames as the most common way to store a set of data for doing research. And it's important that we make sure that our data is just the way we need it to be before we analyze the data. We need to check to make sure that we have the variables that we expect to have in the data set. We need the values to be of the correct type for each variable. In general, we need to review our data before we actually start analyzing. So let's take a look at some of the most common ways to review. Later in the course, we'll look at many more methods for reviewing data and cleaning it up and getting it ready for analyzing. We already know about the structure function, where we can see what type of data we have for each of our variables. We can summarize the data with the summary function. Note that for the data that's character, we have how many elements we have in the data and what the class and mode is. For the score data, what we are given is a 5-number summary and the mean. So when the data is integer or numeric, this is what we get. We also are told how many missing data elements we have for those score data. We can make sure the data appears to be set up correctly by looking at the first few elements using the head function. Or we can look at the last few. It's often good to look at both of them to see if the data looks to be consistent all the way from beginning to end. Of course, if the data set's not too large, we might want to look at the entire thing. We can use the view function. It's important to note for the view function that this is a capital V. So this provides us a spreadsheet-like view of the data, and we can scroll through to see if everything looks in order. This is not going to be feasible many instances in research when we look at very large data sets, so we'll look at other methods later on for looking at large data sets and reviewing those. The n row and n column functions will report for us the number of rows and the number of columns. 48 rows, 3 columns. Or we can get them both at once with the dimension statement. So when we review data frames, we can use the structure function to list the variables in the class or data type. The summary function will provide a data summary. It provides a length and class of character data. It lists factor data, and it gives the 5-number summary and mean of numeric data. The head and tail functions provide the first and last rows of the data. The view function shows the data frame as a spreadsheet. The n row and n col function provide the number of rows and columns in the data frame. And finally, the dim function provides the number of rows and columns in the data frame all at once.